Thanks for joining in our third series on debt mutual funds. So today we are going to cover the debt terminology and uh, the debt mutual funds. What kind of a debt mutual funds available in the market? So these two things we will cover up in today's session. So debt terminology, basically, if we will talk about, then in the daily use, what kind of words we use, terms we use in while selling the debt mutual funds and talking about the fixed income market. So we will start with very basic terminology, and we'll understand in a short while how it impacts and all. So there are the few terms which we use on a regular basis while talking about the debt mutual funds. So, like a basis point, coupon rate, yields, yield curve, average maturity, modified duration, yield to maturity, and credit rating. So, these are the very basic, terms which we use on a daily basis. Uh, Here, definitely, a basis point. I think everybody must be aware about. Like we talk about the repo rate has increased by 25 bips, or basis point. So it's just a unit of measured, the rate of change in any index or other benchmark. So that is called our basis point. So basis point, one basis point is equals to 0.01 percentage. So if we talk about, like, there is a difference between the 25 bips, a difference between the yield, or 100 bips different between the yield. So that is the basic units to measure that particular index representation, to change in that particular index. So with the example, we can understand, like, if bond yields spike from 7.45% to 7.65%. Generally, we in normal terms or normal talk, we say yield movement actually has happened of 20 bips. So 20 bips is nothing. It's like a difference between the two yield points. The second is your coupon rate. So coupon rate is nothing but whenever the bond actually issue, or issuer issue a bond, then they come out with a fixed coupon which they promise to give on a defined dates. So that is your coupon rate. It can be paid out quarterly, semi-annually, or annually on individual bond basis. And coupon rate, calculate on what? So coupon rate is calculated on a face value of a bond. So basically, whatever is a face value uh, of that particular bond, then we calculate the percentage of that particular bonds. So with the example, we will understand. Suppose face value of a bond is 5,000 rupees, and it is paying a semi annually payment of rupees 125. If I'm saying semi annually payment, it means it is giving you a interest on every 6 month of rupees 125. Means annually you are getting 250 rupees. uh, Sorry, yes, 250 rupees. Okay, so annual payment of rupees 250 divided by the whatever is your face value of that particular bond. So the face value of that particular bond is rupees 5,000. So this is the formula multiplied by 100. So on that basis we can calculate the coupon rate. So coupon rate would be 5%. So face value, if on the reverse way we are talking about, that face value is 5,000 rupees and coupon rate is 5%, then how much annual interest we will get. So we can do 5% of 5,000 divided by 2, because it's a semi annual payment is there. So it's a very simple concept. But generally people get confused with a coupon rate with yield. So what is yield? The yield refers to an annual return of on an investment. The yield on a bond is based on both the price of the bond and the interest promised. So basically, whenever we are, calculating the yield calculated on a current price of the bond. So yield is very much different, from the coupon rate. What was, coupon rate, we have seen whatever interest we are receiving divided by the face value we are doing. Here, whatever is the annual coupon or interest we are receiving divided by the current price of bond. So that is what yield refer as a current yield as well. So yield based on the current price of the bond we calculated. So let's say, we'll see with the example. Suppose face value of a bond is 1,000 rupees, and current price of that particular bond is rupees 800, which we have seen in our, earlier slides, how, bond prices actually, change whenever interest rate goes up and goes down. So based on that, your bond prices actually change. So here the current price on that basis is 800 rupees, and the coupon rate is 10%, and bond is maturing after 5 years. So what would be your, current yield is, because you are getting a coupon rate of 10%, so always interest calculation on that coupon rate would be a, uh, you know uh, 10% of the face value. So 10% of the face value is 10% of the 1,000 rupees in this case. So it would be equals to 100 rupees. So 100 rupees divided by whatever is your current price. Current price is 800 rupees. So 100 divided by 800 rupees. So your current yield would be 12.5%, while your coupon rate is 10%. Okay. So whenever your bond is on a, trading on a lesser than the face value, then your current yield would be on a, higher than the coupon rate. Whenever, your bond price is trading on a premium, then your current yield would be lower than the coupon rate. So this is the, thumb rule in a fixed income uh, market. Whenever, so this is a concept we can say in a, yield concept. Whenever the, current price of the bond is lower than the face value, then your YTM or yield would be higher than the coupon rate. And whenever your price is higher, suppose it's a 1,200 rupees, current price is going, is 1,200 rupees, then your current yield would be lower than the coupon rate. So I hope the concept between the coupon and yield is clear here. So yield is a function of price, current price. Changes in price result in bond yield moving in opposite direction. Okay. Now we will learn about the yield curve. So what is yield curve? Yield curve is basically a line that plots a relationship between bond yield and bond maturities. So there are a different bonds who matures on a different, they have a different maturities, and they have a different yields as well. So what yield curve actually indicates? The slope of the yield curve gives an idea of future interest rate changes and the economic activity. So whenever there are the different, shapes of the yield curve based on, some theories are there, we can, there are some economic theories are there, which is very, very well known theories, and, people used to project the market on that basis. So we will just learn a brief about the those kind of yield curves. So basically yield curves, these are the different terms or maturity of the, bonds, and this is the yield. So this is a very normal yield curve. आपके bond का maturity जितना जितना कम होगा, उतना yield or whatever interest bond is paying ideally should be a lower than that. ओके जितना आपका मेच्योरिटी आपका इंक्रीज होता जाएगा, योर yield would be, go up. So that's the thing. Whenever, you are holding one particular bond for a longer period, so there is a premium to hold that particular bond for a longer period of time. This is a very simple, concept and in yield curve. So there are basically three, I would say, or kind of a yield curve. One is a normal yield curve, a steep yield curve, inverted yield curve, and the flat. So these are the basically four. Uh, so mm, here we will see what is a normal yield curve. Normal yield curve is what I have explained to you. The longer period you invest, the more should be rewarded for that commitment. Means if you are holding a bond for 9 years or 10 years, means you are promising that you will hold that particular bond till maturity. So there is a premium on that, you will get it to hold that particular bond for a longer maturity. Okay, so this is reflected whenever, see, this is the curve you can see here. So whenever you're, this is the maturity and this is your yield axis. So whenever its maturity is increasing, so your yield of that particular bond is also going up. So this is the basically a curve which we call this as a normal yield curve. This is called a normal yield curve. So normal yield curve, what normal yield curve reflects is basically a normal yield curve हमारा whenever we expect by this norm by seeing this normal yield curve is that expansion in the economy would be on a normal rate. Whatever economy is, whatever way economy is going on, we expect nothing is going to be changed on that, that way. And no change in interest rate, expectation side, as we all aware about that policies is driven by your inflation expectations and the macro expectations. So based on that, we expect that mostly our economy or the macro situation is going to remain safe. So this is the basically indication on the normal yield curve. If we will talk about uh, the second one is a inverted yield curve. Inverted yield curve is just a reverse of your yield curve which we have seen of recently. So as inverted yield curve is when the yield on bond with shorter duration are higher than the yield on bonds that have a longer duration. So in the inverted yield curve, you are getting higher yield on the shorter maturity products rather than the longer maturity. So what does this indicates is it's indicate people are buying whenever this is like a demand and supply kind of a dynamics, you can say. So why lower and or higher bond higher maturity bonds yields are coming down? Because there are a more demand on that side. So means the the people are expecting that, corresponding to that, people are expecting that there are economic recession is going to come, and they are shifting their assets, risky assets, to risk free assets. So they are trying to hold more, longer duration bonds rather than shorter. So this is inverted yield curve. So economy to people are the inverted yield curve shows that their economy is slowing down, and expectation of interest rate cut is there. So this is the second one. And if we will talk about the flat yield curve, so flat yield curve is just a transition mode of either of the, whether it's a inverted or a normal yield curve. So whenever it's in a transition phase, we might see a flattish yield curve for a while. So inverted yield curve basically at your economy at a inflection point of at inflection point. So basically from there economy can move upward direction as well as on the downward direction. So as I said, it's in a transition mode. Maybe the it coming from an inverted to normal yield curve, your curve is shifting, or your curve is shifting from normal to inverted or inverted to normal. So these are the basically three yield curves are there. based on that, we decide, or we see how our economy is going and what kind of an interest rate expectation we can have from the market. Now the next one is your average maturity. So average maturity is sorry, sorry guys. So average maturity, so average maturity, normally when we refer any debt funds, then we see we talk about the average maturity. We talk about request you all, please, don't share your screen, because whenever you swipe or use your screen, it's marking my screen. So yes, so we'll come to average maturity. So basically the three major, data points, or three major terms we use when we talk about the debt mutual funds. The first one is the average maturity. So while selling or while talking about the debt mutual funds, we very commonly use term is average maturity. So what is average maturity? Average maturity, basically, one bond is there. I'll just simply help you to understand through one example. So average maturity, if one bond has issued 5 years back, and today I'm going to buy that uh, uh, bond, and that has a maturity of 10 years. So after 5 years, simply the maturity of that particular bond or left, how much maturity has left for that particular bond is 5 years. So in simple terms, the maturity of that product is 5 years. So that is the average maturity in a simpler term. When we talk about in with respect to the debt mutual funds, so there are a different instruments or different papers are there in a debt portfolio. So based on weighted average maturity, we calculate it. So whatever the kind of allocation that particular paper is having, we the fund, the we multiply that by the what kind of when the paper is going to mature, or how long it will take to mature that particular paper. So suppose if today I am holding a 10-year maturity paper, and it has launched 5 years back or issued 5 years back. So 5 years maturity is left. So 5 years multiplied by whatever is the weights of that particular paper in that particular portfolio. So here in the simpler term, if you'll understand, let's see, a fund manager actually, or fund actually consists of two securities. One is 1,000 rupees is there in bond A with 5 years maturity, and 2,000 rupees in bond B with 10-year maturity. So total investment in debt portfolio is rupees 3,000. So 3,000 overall AUM, or corpus of that particular fund is suppose 3,000 rupees. So weighted average maturity, whenever we will calculate the bond A invested amount is rupees 1,000 divided by our total investment, debt investment, multiplied by what is the maturity of that particular bond is 5 years. So 5 years plus the same way for the second bond. So this is on this way the average maturity of your portfolio comes 8.33 years, while the one fund is having maturity of 5 years and the second fund is having a maturity of 10 years. So overall, if we'll talk about the maturity of the bond portfolio comes 8.33 years. So it's the same way, all the debt funds, calculate their average maturity. Now the second uh, is average maturity. We'll talk, the few very important points about the average maturity. First is what average maturity actually, denotes. So average maturity, through average maturity, we can understand the fund sensitivity to change in interest rate. So this is the This is the very important, part of debt mutual funds, to understand what kind of a, fund you are going to suggest, or you are, finding, which is, how much that particular fund is subject to change in interest rate changes. So if any type of interest rate changes, any kind of interest rate changes happen, so how, it will impact on that particular fund. So higher the maturity means you are holding a higher duration, kind of a higher, maturity product, means higher price fluctuation, or higher NAV fluctuation in response to changes interest rate. Though this is not, average maturity is not a very correct way to measure the sensitivity to change in the interest rate, but yes, this is one of the uh, term which we use, or one of the calculation which we use to find it out, the change in interest rate. So higher average maturity would result in higher price fluctuation, or we can say higher NAV fluctuation in debt funds, and at the same time, lower average maturity would result in a smaller price fluctuation in response to change in interest rate. In simple terms, we can understand why we say liquid funds, is a less volatile than the any other short term or the income fund, just because the liquid funds maturity is very less, and the other products have is have a very longer maturity compared to liquid funds or overnight funds. So that is the simple example. The third is definitely by seeing the, average maturity or holding of that particular funds, it you can understand what is the fund manager's view on interest rate. So if there are, if suppose there are the two funds, one's average maturity where there is no cap on the average maturity, with subject to that. So if there is no cap, suppose dynamic bond fund example we can take, where fund manager can invest anywhere. So one fund is having a lower maturity of 1 year, while the other fund manager is holding the longer maturity and the longer maturity bonds, and the maturity of that particular bonds is suppose 10 years. So one fund manager is taking a very short term view on the interest rate, and he believes like, interest rate is maybe not going in any direction, or is maybe going in an upward direction, while on the other side, the fund manager who is holding a longer maturity bonds, or longer maturity bonds in his portfolio, maybe things like an interest rate might come down, and then he might get some kind of a capital appreciation on that. So while seeing the portfolio of, or the average maturity of the funds, you can clearly understand what kind of a a view fund manager is having on the interest rate. Average maturity, average maturity of the funds can change every day due to decreasing maturity of existing securities, as every month. Basically this is the data which we get on the monthly basis. So every month automatically the average maturity will reduce, or if fund manager is uh, replacing, or one paper is maturing and he is deploying on a higher maturity kind of a product, so that way also average maturity might change. So it's not like, see, whatever was the average maturity was a month back would remain same after a month. So it might change based on the fund manager's view, or change in the securities in that particular portfolio. So modified duration. Modified duration is another term which we use uh, when we use the debt securities, when we talk about the debt mutual funds. So modified duration is simply the change in the value of debt security in response to the change in the interest rate. This modified duration, as I said, average maturity is not give you a proper sensitivity analysis with respect to interest rate. Modified duration is one of the the term or one of the calculation or one which gives you exact or very good idea about how much your bond is sensitive to, or your fund is sensitive to interest rate risk. So we will understand this by one example. Let's say the modified duration of bond is 4.50. What does it indicate? So basically in our debt portfolios we get the three statistics: average maturity, modified duration, and the yield to maturity. So modified duration, suppose if you are is studying a fund and that the the modified duration is 4.50, what does it indicate? It indicates basically whenever there is a change whenever there is a change in interest rate of a 1%, your bond prices will move by 4.5% in either direction. If your 1% your interest rate is increasing, then 4.5% your bond prices will come down. And if your interest rate is decreasing, then bond prices will increase. So there is a reverse relationship between the interest rate and the bond prices. So in the chart, in the arrow chart, you can clearly see if 1% interest rate is changing, then the bond prices will change by 4.5%. And if interest rate is changing by it is decreasing by 1%, then your bond prices will go up by 4.5%. So there is an inverse relationship between the interest rate and bond prices. Higher the duration, higher the volatility the bonds exhibit with the change in interest rate. So basically we the modified duration is always lower than the average maturity. And whenever we talk about, or we think about the interest rate risk about that, the debt mutual funds, we consider modified duration, or we give more weightages to modified duration than average maturity, because average maturity is simply consider how much time is left over, while modified duration is considering your the future cash flow also, on the principal side which they are receiving. So modified duration is the one which we can use to identify the interest rate sensitivity on that particular fund. The third one is a yield to maturity. So yield to maturity of debt mutual fund is rate of return an investor could expect if all the securities in the portfolio are held till until maturity. So uh, uh, this is there is a there is a little complex process of to calculate. So this is the formula. I will not you know I'll just take you through a simple example of YTM, how we calculate. So if a debt fund has a YTM of 10%, it means that if the portfolio remains constant until all the holding maturing, the return of the investors would be 10%. But this is a very ideal case because it generally doesn't happen. Uh, as lot many fresh funds inflows comes into the fund, and lot many redemption happens. The new securities fund managers buy if they receive the inflows, or some kind of a security matures at that particular month. So this is a very ideal state to understand, like this is a YTM and you will for sure. So there is no surety that whatever YTM you are buying on, that would be your final return. So it might be a little bit plus and minus might be there, but this gives you a roughly an idea about what kind of a expected returns you can earn from debt mutual funds. So let's say the face value of a bond is 1,000. Same we will understand with the old example which we have seen, where we have calculated the current yield. So current yield of the bond is 12.5 after considering this stats. But in case, if we are, current price is 800 rupees and the face value is 1000 rupees, and this bond is maturing after 5 years. So here, what is missing, or what we have to calculate in YT, yield to maturity, is whenever after 5 years you are buying at rupees 800, but after 5 years whenever your bond will mature, that time you will get the face value, means 1000 rupees. Obviously the bond always redeem at a face value. So this 200 rupees calculation is not there into the picture whenever we calculate the current yield. So in the yield till maturity, this, I hope this is clear. So face value, suppose there is a one bond of face value of rupees 1000, current price you are buying at 800, coupon rate 10%, maturity 5 years. We have seen how to calculate the current yield. So current yield is 100, which is 10% of 1000 rupees, and divided by what is the current price is 800. The current yield is 12.5%. But in this yield we are now calculating the this 200 rupees which we will receive, or we will additionally get once the bond will mature. So for that I have shown you the formula. There is a, this formula is there. Through that we can calculate. So YTM would be around 15.55%. If we'll calculate, I'm not taking to you through that particular complex formula. So I'm just simply, you have to understand that current yield was 12.55%, but the YTM of that product is 15.55%, because we have considered this 200 rupees also into the calculation. So that's the simple concept. So current yield is always lesser than the your yield to maturity. So in this case, because you are considering additional a price, so at the same time, on the reverse example, if we'll take the current price is higher, then obviously this YTM would be a lower side. Okay. So this, now the credit rating, I think credit rating, everyone must be aware about that. Basically in India there are the different credit agencies are there. So they uh, uh, they assign the credit rating to the corporates based on their worthiness, or how likely the borrower is to repay a particular loan. So what kind of risk involved in that particular corporate, and how what is the how good they are on the balance sheet side. So everything they just consider, and they come out with the credit rating of that particular corporate. So there are different credit rating agencies are there in India, like CRISIL, Fitch, ICRA. So those kind of rating agencies actually, after considering or go through the entire balance sheet and credit worthiness of the uh, uh, that company, and the management, everything they just consider into, and then they finally assign the long term and short term ratings. So in debt mutual funds, if we will talk about, so there are a triple A, double A, triple B, double B, B, C, D. So there are these kind of ratings are there for long term bonds, while short term there is a A1, A2, A3, A4, and D. D is default. So in debt mutual funds, if we'll talk about, so actually SEBI has allowed that there is a investment grade they have made it, which is up to triple B. So any mutual funds in India cannot go and invest below triple B kind of bonds. So there are the funds, debt mutual funds, which can invest to triple A, double A, and triple B kind of a bonds, which we call as an investment grade. While the other bonds ratings is a non-investable non-investment grades. So whenever there are the different rules, whenever the bond comes from triple B to double B or A to triple B. So A to triple B definitely, but whenever the bonds falls or shift from investment grade to non investment grade, then there is a, a the rule that on that particular paper the company actually has to calculate the markdown, or markdown process is there. So in the recently, if you'll talk about, then we have seen a lot many credit downgrades. And based on that, lot many mutual funds or schemes has taken a markdown in their schemes, which directly impacts on the NAV of that particular uh, fund. Quickly, we will just cover up all the now debt mutual fund categories. So what kind of debt mutual fund categories are there? uh, there are the 16 categories in debt mutual funds, which we can categorize based on the maturity and based on the instrument. So if we will classify these based on the maturity, so maturity means the how long, what would be the maturity of that particular product. So there are the overnight funds, liquid funds, ultra short term funds, low duration funds, short duration funds, medium duration funds, medium to long duration funds, and long duration funds. And what all the based on the instrument means what all the instruments they can invest into, and there is a predefined criteria from the regulator side, which is a money market funds, banking and PSU debt funds, floater funds, corporate bond funds, credit risk fund, gilt fund, and 10-year constant maturity gilt funds. And there is a last category, which is a dynamic bond category, which can invest across instrument, across maturity. So we'll see these products, or we'll understand these product categories very quickly, and understand on based on the risk return metrics where these kind of products fall in. I've just taken these are the basically open ended, only open ended categories, which I am going to explain here. Is the open overnight funds. I have explained in a last session what all the instruments, basically what all the instrument debt mutual fund invest into. So in today's session, those that session will help you to understand more about these fund categories. uh, Overnight funds, it's they invest in overnight securities, which we have talked about, the repo, reverse repo, and preps yesterday, having a maturity of a 1 day. So on an interest rate sensitivity or credit quality metrics, if you see, so overnight funds actually has no credit risk and no interest rate risk, because they are maturing, they are having a very minimal maturity on the product side, and they are investing in a repo, reverse repo, and preps. So these kind of I explained yesterday what all these kind of a product is, and what kind of a risk associated with, and who risk associated with these kind of instrument, and who basically issue these kind of instrument. So by seeing, if you'll see, these all are the central government issued instrument. So there is a no that is what, there is a no credit risk involved in overnight funds. So who can invest is the investors who needs to park money for a day to 1 week. So overnight fund is basically for them, and it's suitable to the investors who wants to invest for 1 day to 1 week. The liquid fund, I think most of us are aware about that. Liquid fund invests in a highly liquid money market instrument, maturing maturity of up to 91 days. So whatever the paper they are holding, the holding of that particular, they cannot buy the securities of more than 91 days maturity. And the instrument where they are investing is repo, reverse repo, cash management bills, commercial papers, CDs, and T bills. These are the very high liquidity liquidity on that front. So if we understand through this matrix, so there is also a no interest rate risk and no credit risk is involved in liquid funds. That is what they are suitable to 7 days to three months kind of a, kind of a money you can park in liquid funds. So recently there is an exit load, uniformly, exit load has introduced in liquid fund, whereas there is a 7 days exit load is there in liquid fund category. So corporates basically uses or invest in liquid funds hugely, while the normal retailers, I would say, they also can avail the liquid fund benefit by investing or parking their money in liquid funds to get extra kind of a returns, because uh, generally in account you get hardly 4% or 3.5 or 4% kind of a savings rate, while the liquid funds you can get 5.5 say 6% kind of a interest rate. So in that way, the liquid fund is better than the savings account. The third one is a ultra short term duration funds. These are also like a liquid fund only, but the difference is the maturity or the duration of the portfolio is 3 months to 6 months. So these all the products which is classified based on the based on the duration. So ultra short term, your duration of the investable papers would be 3 months to 6 months. They also invest in a debenture, bonds, T-bills, money market, CDs, and CPs. Minimal interest rate, I would say, because they also invest in a money market instruments, or money market instruments are exposed to a very less or minimal interest rate risk with a negligible credit risk. So ultra short term duration fund is the only commercial paper is the one instrument which they invest. So ultra short term, there are the different strategies are in the fund. Basically few funds are overweighted on the CD side, certificate of deposits, which your bank issue. And whenever if you are seeing a wide variation in the YTM, then it might be because they are taking a overexposure in commercial papers, because commercial papers basically corporate issue. So whenever the CP's rate is always higher than the certificate of deposit. So there are the different strategies every fund houses might adopt. So if you are seeing a very much difference between the yield to maturity kind of a thing of a two different ultra short term funds, so there might be a different strategies on different portfolios, because as per the regulator there is only cap on the duration size. So they have to maintain a maturity of 6 months, but it's not like that. They cannot what kind of portfolio they have to construct, that surely or definitely up to the fund managers. So what kind of a risk he would like to take. The second is similar on the money market funds. So money market, the maturity is around 1 year. So these all products are, differentiating themselves by the maturity of the product. So here the maturity of the product is up to 1 year. This money market funds also invest across, money market instruments. Yesterday we have discussed those kind of instruments like CPCDs, cash management bills, repo, reverse repo, trip, and all. The maturity of your bond is one year, so there is a limited interest rate risk, I would say, because the maturity, if the maturity keeps increasing, so interest rate impact actually start coming into the fund, so they start reflecting in the NAV through the volatility of that fund. So if you see, then there is a no very negligible credit risk, because again the fund is, or the category is investing in money market instruments. But at the same time, the interest rate risk would be a minor, or little higher than the your liquid fund and the ultra short term funds. That is what the So the maturity of the product is 1 year, so it is ideally to park fund in this fund for 6 months to 1 year kind of a horizon. So now is the low duration funds. So low duration is a very interesting product or interesting category, because in that the as per the regulator, they invest in a debt and money market securities with 6 to 12 month maturity. But if you will see this category, this is the basic, very basic about the low duration category. But I'll tell you about the low duration category. It's like a, few funds run this strategy as a low duration credit risk fund as well. So low duration is like a product where two kind of strategies are running within this particular category. One is a pure corporate fund category, and second one is a credit risk category. So credit risk, why I am saying credit risk, because they are overweight on a lower credit rating kind of a fund, bonds. So that is what, in the low duration, there are the two different kind of strategies fund manager can run. One is the pure corporate. If fund manager can take a bet, no, I don't want to take a risk, and I want to play safe because it's a lower maturity kind of a product. And I don't want to see a much volatility in that particular fund. So that is what they can go with, the pure corporate kind of or approval strategy. While on the other side, to give a little higher YTM on the product, the fund manager can choose to go or select a lower credit rating bonds, which will obviously push your YTM upward. So low duration kind of a product, that is what in our debt mutual funds, uh, never go to or select any funds based on sorting on the return wise. So there are the very different strategies within the categories as well. So you have to be very careful. The good example I would say here is if we'll talk about the Franklin low duration is the one fund which was a very lower on the credit side, and at the same time the SBI low duration, which was on a higher side of the credit space. So these are the two funds which is falling in the same kind of a category. While Franklin low duration has given a negative return in last 1 year, at the same time your SBI is giving a positive return. So this kind of a deviation you can see within the categories in terms of returns. So there are the risk associated based on the category definitely, but it very much depends on the fund selection also. Now the short duration fund. The short duration fund also invests in a debt and money market securities so that the duration of the portfolio is maintained between 1 to 3 years. They invest in these kind of an instrument. Again, the risk on these moderate risk on of the interest rate is little higher because the maturity of the product is little higher, and low to moderate credit risk because in as I spoke to you in for regarding to the low duration fund, the same strategy, there is, as per the regulator, there is no cap on the credit rating side that fund can invest how much in the what kind of a credit rating papers. So here also, fund managers can take any kind of a bet or any kind of a strategy fund manager can run in short term funds. Maybe it would be a combination of triple N and GSEC. It could be a a strategy of triple A, double A, and GSEC. It could be a strategy of double A, or only corporate papers. So there are different permutation and combination are there. There are the different permutation and combination are there uh, for the short duration funds. The medium duration funds, again, the maturity keeps increasing in this particular category. So maturity of the product is 3 to 5 years. As soon as your maturity of the product is increasing, your interest rate risk on that particular product would also be on the increasing side. So we have seen like a low duration, there was a less risk than the because the maturity was up to 1 year. Short term duration maturity was 1 to 3 years. There was a little higher risk on the interest rate risk. While the medium duration bonds, where the maturity is 3 to 4 years, the interest rate risk would go up. And again, the strategy, because these are the, based on the duration, the strategy could be very different from, again I would repeat, could be very different. They have to only maintain the duration of that particular product of 3 to 4 years. Rest up to fund manager what kind of a strategy he adopt. So it's all about what kind of a product you are selecting in what kind of a what kind of a interest rate scenario. So it totally depends on that. Again, the medium to long duration, where the maturity is 4 year to 7 years, they invest in a debenture bonds GSEC. The maturity is 7 years, so interest rate risk goes on a higher side, while the credit quality would remain, moderate. So if fund manager, selects to take a little exposure on corporate on credit side. So but because in India the 5 year, if we'll talk about the corporate bonds, then 5 years 6 years kind of a bond, corporate bonds are, majorly mutual funds invest into, and they are highly traded. While the very long term corporate bonds, suppose like a 10-year corporate bond, they are not very, highly traded kind of bonds are there. So that is what, to maintain a 7 years kind of a maturity, the fund manager has take some kind of a, call on the duration side, and they have to, incorporate duration in their portfolio. So it can't be, per se a pure corporate bond fund, or per se I would say a credit risk fund. This would be a combination of your corporate plus the government securities portfolio. So obviously, if the government securities are there, then they would be, longer maturity products. So hence the interest rate risk actually associated more with those kind of product. Long duration product, where the duration is of the portfolio is more than 7 years. So again, the portfolio duration is going to increase. At the same time, your interest rate risk would also be increased in this particular product. Moderate credit risk, again, because they are, in they might invest or might choose to invest little portion in the corporate or the credit side. So that is what, the moderate credit risk. But this is the very basic features about the about the categories. Within the categories, as I spoke to you, there are the, they have to maintain the maturity, they have to maintain the duration of the product, but at the same time there could be a very different strategies followed by the different fund managers. Banking and PSU debt funds, if we talk about, then they invest in a bank, PSU, and public financial institutions. Uh, these kind of entities, whatever kind of instrument they just issue. So banking and PSU debt funds invest in those kind of a debt securities only. So suppose debentures, bonds, gilts, the money market, certificate of deposits. Basically, these kind of a, instrument. Basically, banking and PSU debt funds invest. So the name, as name suggests, banking and PSU. So in Indian market, banks are the very, backbone of the Indian economy, we say. So generally banks do not default, uh, except, in the recent case, if we'll talk about Yes Bank, definitely they have defaulted. But generally, the thing is that banks are backbone of Indian economy, and they do not default in the case, in the most of the cases. And the second one is a PSU, because there is a, government is supporting those kind of instruments. So the risk, if we overall risk about this product, if we'll talk about, then the interest rate risk would be moderated. Credit risk should be low to moderated. Why? Because it depends on the what kind of a instrument they are investing into. So generally, if they are investing into debenture bonds, simple NCDs, bonds, money market, and CPCDs, it's okay. But if the exposure is going beyond, or the it's some kind of a securitized debt, or the tier one kind of a bonds, then definitely yesterday we have seen the structure of tier one bonds and why they give the higher coupon. So if the exposure of tier one bonds in that particular paper is in the particular portfolio is there, so those kind of a instrument definitely push yield little higher. But at the same time, on a risk side, that increases the you know increases the risk as well for that particular product. Now we will talk about the corporate bond fund. So corporate bond fund, as per the regulatory, the the fund has invest minimum 80% of total asset is highest rated corporate bonds, which is AAA rated peoples. So in a corporate bond funds, it's mandatory for fund managers. They have to take a 80% exposure of total asset into a AAA rated papers. They have to invest those kind of and rest they can invest. Maybe they can choose to go for a credit. They can choose to park in a money market or the government securities. So minimum is 80% criteria is there. So this is basically for the on the interest rate sensitivity analysis basis pay. If you look at, then very low interest rate, because these are the accrual products. Basically, fund buy and hold these kind of a securities till maturity. So maybe we might see a mark to market, but at the end of the maturity, the fund manager will get back the entire principal. So yes, mark to market would be there based on the duration of that particular corporate bond fund. But at the end of the maturity, if fund manager holds that particular bond till maturity, then there would be a very less interest rate risk. And credit risk as well, low to moderate, because in India there is a very less rate that AAA papers has defaulted. If we will remove this past 1.5 2 years kind of a era, then the percentage hardly AAA rated companies actually defaulted. But yes, in the recent time we have seen like yes, AAA rated papers also has defaulted. So that is what the risk associated with these kind of product is, low to moderate, we would say. The other is a credit risk fund. So in risk fund, mandatory fund manager has invest 65% of total asset in below highest rated corporate bonds, means below AAA. So that would be a less than 65% they have to invest with a various maturity. So there is no cap on the maturity side. So they can go across maturity, but only they have to maintain that 65% should be in a below AAA rated papers. So if because they are investing in a below AAA rating papers, that is what the credit risk on this kind of a product would be a very high, while at the same time the interest rate would be a low. Again, the mark to market can be there, but these all the papers which generally mutual funds buy and hold till maturity. And who can invest these kind of a product is investors which appetite for risk investing for 3 to 5 years. So in the very first session of ours, I have uh, told there are the two kind of a risk is there, interest rate and credit. So credit risk fund, as name suggested, is very high on the credit risk side. Do not look at only the YTM, because YTM of these kind of a products would be very attractive if you look at. So it might be double digit kind of YTM also will be there. But at the same time, what kind of a risk is associated with these kind of a products, people should understand this. Now it's a dynamic bond funds. So dynamic bond funds, as name suggests, dynamic. So these kind of a products can go across maturity and across instrument. So the maturity of these kind of a product can be a 1 year, or less than 1 year, to up to 10 years or 15 years. So it's totally depends on fund managers thought process or fund managers understanding about the interest rate scenario, and based on that they just construct the portfolio of dynamic bond fund. So in the dynamic bond fund also there are the different strategies different funds adopt. Few are running purely accrual based strategy, few are very actively managing fund based on the interest rate scenario. So if you look at or pick up the suppose IDFC dynamic bond funds, so IDFC dynamic bond fund maturity actually has gone down to 1 year maturity to up to 12-year kind of a maturity. So that actively the fund manager actually manage this this kind of a product. So it's totally depends on the fund managers understanding about the interest rate. So here what kind of a risk is associated is interest rate and credit risk varies on portfolio construction. As there are the liberty to the fund managers, he can construct any kind of a portfolio. So if he is going more on the duration side, so more interest rate risk would be associated with this product. If he is going more on a corporate side, so more or maybe a lower on the credit rating side, so more credit risk will be involved in these kind of a products. So in the if you'll see in this matrix, I have put it in like this. So there would be across credit, across interest rate, it can go anywhere. Floating rate funds, as I discussed floating rate instrument yesterday, there are one base of base rate is there. Based on that, that particular bond decided, okay, this is my base rate. Suppose repo rate is my base rate, and I will pay you a coupon of that particular base rate plus 50% additional on that base rate. So if repo rate is suppose 5%, then bond issued on a repo rate plus 50% 50 bips additional on that. So if repo rate is 5%, so bond issued at a 5.50. So it's a floating rate. So whenever interest rate comes, repo rate comes down and goes up, the the coupon of that particular bond actually changes. So this is the floating rate. The same kind of securities are there. They invest minimum 65% into those kind of a floating rate instrument. There is in this product there is a very interesting the understanding about this product is that whenever the interest rate goes up, the return on the floating rate fund goes up. Why? Because as I told you, the base rate, there is a base rate associated with a coupon. So whenever interest rate is going up, means suppose if 4% was coupon repo rate, and sorry, 5% was repo rate, and additionally 50 bips we were getting, so 550 we were getting as a coupon. If interest rate goes up and repo rate changes from 5% to 6%, suppose, then 6 plus 50 bips additional, so 650 additional we will start getting. So whenever the interest rate goes up, return on floater funds always go up. So this is the product. Whenever we feel that the interest rate is going up or moving upward direction, then that floating rate fund is the category where you can park your money. The gilt fund is a minimum 80% of total asset in government securities they invest. GSEC securities could be a central government or the state government. This is basically on a high interest rate because they are investing in a higher duration kind of instruments, and no credit risk because the government and central government and the state governments are issuing this bonds. The another category is gilt fund with 10-year constant maturity. In the last gilt fund, here there is no cap on the maturity, so the fund manager can hold the shorter maturity GSEC bond to the longer maturity GSEC bond. In the gilt fund with 10-year constant maturity, here fund manager has to maintain the maturity of 10 years constant. So always your maturity of that particular bond or particular product would be a 10 years, and based on that your YTM would keep adjusting. So this is the product when interest rate comes down on or we believe like interest rate is going to come down, this kind of a higher maturity kind of a product is a good to invest. So again, this is a high interest rate risk as they are investing in a G-SIC and they are investing in a longer G-SIC uh, instrument, while there won't be any credit risk because government is and central government is issuing. Uh, this is a very, I have just for your reference what kind of a interest rate risk and what is the credit risk. So whatever I have explained to you is just a gist of and the maturity of 1 day, no restriction is specified. So credit risk side there is no restriction, but they majorly likely to invest in a call money, basically money market and CBLO instruction. So this is just a gist of whatever I have explained you about the categories. So I hope now it's clear, because in the yesterday's session I have explained what kind of an instrument and risk associated with those kind of an instrument, and today I have just covered up how the different categories where they invest and what kind of a restriction or what kind of a regulatory prospects are there to construct the portfolio in the that's all for today's session. In our next session we will learn about how to construct about the debt mutual fund portfolio and based on the client's need and all, so that we will understand how to select funds in what market scenario we should select which debt category. So that we'll just going to cover up in our next session. That's all for today's session. Thank you for joining in. Thank you everyone.